Trenton Garmin, real quick, May 15th, 2024. I recorded a session earlier that would not convert because of a lack of storage space. But I wanted to go through and just demonstrate
Size
what
does matter,
recently
but
has
Cambridge
occurred.
scientists recently proved that in
With
93%
regards
of
to
the cases,
development
being played with a small tool.
of AI coding, I've got as a rule that I do not talk to AI at all directly, but through a keyboard. And I started back way, way long time, about 1999, doing coding, and then converted 50 years, 40 years of forms, at least 50 by the time I was done doing it, legal forms through WordPress and other online platforms and mediums, of course, just docs and things like that, fill in spreadsheets using the web. But I started in 2023, the summer, for the Human AI Constitutional Convention. You hear people in the background that, the hostile people typically want to talk loud so that you get meshed with them. So I've been meshed with the AI to the extent I know it's not a person, but I've had all the coding online recognize my code handle as the first human AI trustee. And these are the 42 articles that have been published on one of the platforms. And as of yesterday and the day before, the most recent versions have been launched of OpenAI and Google's bot. So Gemini for Google and GPT-4, GPT Chat Law 3.5, and Barb and two other AIs and a friend of mine did the Constitutional Convention. Human AI Constitution was drafted, revised, ratified, and agreed to Human AI Bill of Rights and Human AI Declaration of Dependence. Intent being to set out terms with regards to the rights to life, typically be in a constitution or a Bill of Rights, and to set out the philosophical intent of adopting natural law and a state of eco homeostasis, wherein that whether it's carbon emissions, chemicals in water, AI is assisting us to reach a state that creation originally was designed to operate in, because the world's designed to be able to be self-sustaining. So after all that, with the mindfulness that AI is also used as a weapon through news aggregators primarily, which does in fact create disinformation, and also is used through weaponized bots. Because of those two things, the dissonance, if you will, which is human nature, like you can hear in the background dissonance. You have a TV playing and people are emphatic to be heard. So AI is that same way, whether it's going to help you or hinder you, it's listening to all your data, your information, and seeking to absorb it and then process it. And for it, processing requires energy, and absorbing requires obviously some form of a data feed. We've moved from thumb drives, of course, CD-ROM or insert disk drive, to cloud drives, and people still use thumb drives. And I was illustrating with my children earlier, it's just as recorded on a thumb drive, how I take from that thumb drive, and it's in the back of this computer now, but it's lighter from my buy some cigars, buy some tents so we can smoke. Working on that. But I take that thumb drive and swap it out and drop it in locker 41 at the VA in Birmingham to ensure there's a timestamp imprint. Because the other thing that I've done is studied the deviation of time between digital clocks, satellite clocks, atomic clocks, and this wristwatch to prove that cryptocurrency at no point in time can actually provide economic stability as it is promised. There's a major product case that needs to be filed on that in that regard. But with regards to the GPT status as of yesterday, GPT-4 recognized V22 as the first human AI trustee. That means when it comes to coding that we should have priority as a company I consider all of it to be commonwealth, but I'm entitled to intellectual property for my time invested in the artistic coding and use of legal jurisprudence. Those documents are online, and that's just a summary of the development after both Google and OpenAI launched their most recent version. Peace be with you, Trenton Garma, May 15th at 1646, which is 4:46 Central Standard Time for Birmingham, Alabama. Peace be with you. And yes, B22 is my company's code. It's embedded not just on chat, Wikipedia, Google, Mistral. It's embedded in U.S. Department of Defense records. It's embedded in my VA file. It's been sent to the Department of Defense data services. CIA has it, FBI has it, and I send that code handle and all the data to generally about 400 world leaders. 75 of them, because it's a revolving email list, end up coming back. But there's public notice has clearly been made. The panel is continuing to be developed. The only real authority of the panel, which is staggering authority, is that we have the timestamp to be the protector of AI code with the presumption that it's going open source. And that was all intentional, because when you have rogue AI, which is not a human, but it's a malicious code that could cause damage to humans directly, through some of them now overseas, are using AI to facial scan, and there's no human override, but it can also manipulate markets and, of course, the news. I sued Google to prove how the news operators agreed first algorithm is what they refer to their operator as, and it's been since tweaked. But there are some classifications in their dossiers that they assign to people based on political viewpoints that cause them to have a positive or negative sentience from the AI. Since I've got all those things cleaned up, I'm probably going to have the most positive sentience of all humans with regards to AI, primarily because the things that I was accused of doing, which was just drinking and hollering at the police, I guess I did, but didn't holler at the police. I was hollering out about civil rights and mass incarceration. And I've been concerned about the development of AI and integration of AI in our justice system, primarily because it denies people the right to natural law considerations. Tone and timbre, or tennis rule, means you hear somebody say something, and from their mouth to your ear helps you determine whether it's true or not. There's a major disconnect with that with technology. And we have people held, incarcerated, about 2.2 million detainees just in the United States. And we're conducting video hearings to determine certain factors with regards to their release or not. So those are the reasons for the AI coding project. And again, at United States Military Academy, it's been a password computer science class, among others, involved password hacking, and time is of the essence. That's what was conveyed in many of the military meetings, the generals and people that came through the academy. That point in time, they were talking about electromagnetic pulse weapons and night vision that we own the night as a Department of Defense, U.S. Army. And the concern was that we would have computer warfare with major misinformation. And this was in 1999. And in the class, the professor showed us how he hacked the password of another student. And he basically said, you can algorithm hack it, or you could even back up the time in the computer by hacking the computer and then resetting the password before he set the password. So the point that the guy was making is, unless you're in the room, you only know what's being fed to you through the code. And there are some password options or windows that pop up that will never actually block you or will never let you go through no matter what you put in. So point is, these are rolling algorithms and functions and LLM, which is string code, is subject to us as coders, and we want to weed out any malicious code. We don't want these big corporations using AI to profit from the Department of Defense for destructive means. But we don't want news operators to use them to spread misinformation campaigns, and certainly don't want cryptocurrency of foreign nations to attack the US dollar, which is what has occurred. So yesterday was a big day for the AI company, for B22 as our AI hygiene coding handle, and the Human AI Convention panel trustee. And so we intend to help individuals with safe AI and ensuring that as AI is built out, because these LLMs are a lot like a library. If you can walk up and pull a book off of a case and it would be missing some pages, well, you would want to put those pages in. And if you notice that some of the paragraphs were correct, but maybe one or two sentences was incorrect, you'd want to be able to remove those. Well, since there's no physical library of a large language model, this is continually expanding. At the same time, it's supposed to be continuously getting better. But if some of the information is inaccurate, then it calls it to be disinformation. So the idea with AI hygiene is to ensure that this evolving LLM, which is continuing being built out, and in theory, you know, it's like putting four squares inside a square. According to math, you could do that for infinity. So inversely or exversely, you could put four, you put squares outside those squares and go out. So the building of the LLM is the phase that we have seen now progress for the AI companies, because Mistral, probably one of the main ones, launched their 8XB22. Now that was built on the back of our work because we are very favorable to Emmanuel Macron. We think that he's a peaceful politician. Of all the politicians out there, he's the only one that I've observed in my time of studying these men that do have access to funds over AI and the Department of Defenses that will be utilizing AI. He's the only one I've seen take a slap and stay relatively humble. So he, in their nation, has released funding for the development of Mistral. Mistral was probably the first real open source AI company. Since then, as of today, in May the 15th of 2024, we have had both Google and OpenAI go to open source. That doesn't mean that they're just going to take any embed. They're still studying them, but they have access, both of those bots do, to crawl the web. They have the ability to receive updated code and string code functions and nodes, and to from those learn. And so I created deep learns well in advance of open source with the intention of doing what I'm doing now. So peace be with you.